following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin. Hey everybody, I'm Christine.
I'm Jamie.
And this is 50 Shades of Bullshit. So everybody, Jada is not able to make it today. Her mom is not feeling well and she had to handle some medical stuff with her mom. But Jamie has come on to help fill in at the last minute. Jamie, you're the shit.
Oh, no. Come on. This show is the shit. You and Jada are the shit.
We try. I'm telling you, we try. We try to come on every week and spew some garbage that
some
sticks
fire,
on the
some
wall.
gold, some dropping bombs. That's what you guys do every week, Christine. Come on.
We're dropping
Don't
bombs.
Don't play yourself down.
What have you been up to, Jamie? I haven't really talked to you in a bit.
What have I been up to?
Yeah.
Oh goodness, where do we start? You know, those periods where you feel like you've been up to much, and then friends ask you what you've been up to, and you're like, actually, what have I been up to? We've had Taylor Swift, right? So I live in London. I live right next door to Wembley Stadium, which is, in the US, you have big stadiums all over the place, but this place is pretty big for the UK. We've had Taylor Swift next door to us for 5 days, so that's been fun.
Wow.
Laying in bed listening to her concert.
For 5 days in a row.
Yeah. We're planning holidays. I'm going to Portugal, and the sun is something I've realised. Well, so we don't get much sun in London, okay?
I hear this.
And the past few years, I've realised there's no better remedy for mental health than sunshine. And just being out in the light and jumping in the sea. So I've got that to look forward to in 2 weeks. 2 weeks time.
Where are you heading?
The south of Portugal. So
south of Portugal.
Yeah.
You might have said that. I didn't.
No. I usually go to Spain. Spain and Barcelona are my favorite places. So,
yes, I remember you went there recently to Barcelona.
It's heaven. Beautiful people, beautiful food, beautiful music. People are really fit. There's everything you ever need. It's got a beach. It's got a 2-mile long beach and a beautiful city. But what about you, superstar? What about you?
Well, I think I said this on the episode. Did I? I might not have said it on the episode last week, but I got funding for my documentary. Yeah, and the Nolan Miller. So everybody knows that I've been working on the sizzle reel for Nolan Miller story, and I got funding for it this last Friday. And so that I didn't say it. And then right after I spoke to the executive producer about the money, I called the distribution guy who's being the distribution guy for Darling of the Derby, the other doc I'm working on. And it turns out he is Nolan Miller's cousin.
Damn.
You can't write this stuff better. Honest to God, you just cannot write it better. So,
oh my God.
So he's on board. He is on board to distribute the episode or the documentary. So that's really exciting. I think Matt Matt said yes. Congratulations, Christine. Woohoo. Yes, thank you, Matt. It's incredibly exciting. So I am flying to Vegas the first weekend in September to meet and do our first pre-production meeting to set up all the appointments for interviews. And
Exciting.
yeah, we're
And you get to see
interviewing a lot of
Vegas. And you
celebrities.
get to see Vegas.
Yeah, I try to go every once in a while. My friend lives there, so I'm not going to be partying in Vegas that weekend. I'm going to be working. Well, not that kind of working, but
Work hard, play hard. That's the Christine I know.
work hard, play hard. You know it. You know. So, uh, Jada, I know, is working with you on her health um, journey, and
Ten,
I talked about you a dozen
10
times.
pounds down, 10 pounds down.
I know, that's amazing.
and,
She's awesome.
and you know, no. So she's testament to any female
Yeah.
because when you can do it in the busy times,
Hmm.
and Jada is as busy as any female I've ever come across, you can do it
Hmm.
in the easy times. If you can do it in
Yeah,
the busy times, you can do it in yeah.
I love
But
it. Well,
she's a rock star. She is a rock star.
she really is. So, uh, I've talked about you at least a dozen times on this show about,
I know. I know.
how
I know.
hard you
I
are,
listen.
how hard you work out, how hard you are. Jesus Christ. That is not what yeah. Anyway, how awesome you are and how you've been working with us on our weight loss journey, and how much I love having you as my friend and in my life. You're
The
so
feeling is
great.
more than mutual. You know that. You know that.
Yeah, I love it. So today I thought it was awesome. You just reached out to me. We were chatting, and I said, "Hey, do you want to be my co-host?" At the last minute, since it's like midnight in London for you, and you were like, "I'm game." So today we're actually talking about the male equivalent kinda to menopause. And
Hmm.
I titled the episode Menopause.
Love it.
So we're going to have an incredible guest on today. It's actually called, let's see if I say this properly, Andropause. It's referred to as the male menopause. It's the term to describe when your age related hormonal changes start happening for men. And I was looking online about the definition of this. And basically, it is a gradual decline in testosterone levels that occur in men as they age. Typically, you're seeing a steady decline, it says, of 1% per year from ages 30 to 40. Oh,
Oh no.
you poor babies. Oh, fuck. Anybody that says God is a woman is full of shit, because there ain't no woman who would ever curse the woman with all the shit that we are going through, and the men just get
Agreed.
nasty.
Agreed. Which is why your stories are so inspiring. Truly. No. Truly. Truly.
Thank you. I appreciate
Uh,
that.
yeah.
Country Corners Gazette says, "Congrats on the movie funding." Yes, thank you. Woo! I still want to talk to you guys about coming out to Mississippi and doing a live show. So that'll
Wow.
be fun. We'll talk about that. But let's talk about who is coming on the show right now.
Hmm.
We have coming back for the second time Anne Dunev. She is a neuropathic practitioner with 30 years experience helping people with natural medicine, nutrition to improve your wellness and receive symptoms by addressing them at the root cause. She has a BS in health science, a PhD in naturopathy, and a post-doctorate certificate in applied clinical nutrition, and is certified in homeopathic medicine and trained in herbal functional medicine. She's also a certified health educator. I think she is well versed at what we're talking about today. So let's bring Anne back on and have her join us. Hello, my gorgeous girl.
Hello, Christine. Hello, Jamie.
Hello.
Welcome back, Anne.
Yes, thank you so much for having me back. And Jamie, I practiced in England for a number of years.
Did you? Whereabouts?
I did. I raised my children in Sussex, and I used to work out of Planet Organic in London.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you enjoy London?
I loved London. Yeah. I loved England. It is so beautiful, and I had a wonderful time there. My children, we were able to have the best organic food. Sussex is the organic food capital.
It is, yeah.
And so,
wow.
It was really a wonderful experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Well, Anne, you are by far one of our favorite guests. And I was thrilled to know that you also delve in the men's hormonal patterns and changes and etc. So you were the no-brainer to have back on the show. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I don't have as many male patients, but I, of course, have a lot of female patients who want to know about their partners. So,
I'm sure.
And I would love to help men more because men are not as proactive about their health. You know, I think that very often they just think, as long as I can, move around and lift things and, keep going, I'm totally fine. And it's not always the case. It's, I hate to see the men not pay attention and then have a catastrophic event occur. So I really feel that the men need to be taken care of more despite themselves.
Despite themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're into fitness, which is great. And sometimes that brings them into more understanding of their health.
Yeah, but there are a lot of men out there that are couch potatoes and armchair potatoes and not really getting up and going. Maybe they're exhausted after work and they think they have all the intention to work out, but then they don't. Right. And there are a lot of our guests, a lot of our listeners have come back and, make comments on the show and say, that ED is a big deal, erectile dysfunction. And I do believe that is one of the symptoms associated with the decline of testosterone for men.
Well, it is, but you have to look at what's really going on in the Western world. And the United States, of course, is leading the charge on ultra-processed foods.
Yay.
And, and then the belly fat makes estrogen.
Yep.
So now we have a situation, and plus all the hormone disruptors from plastics and petrochemicals and soy types, products. And so then we're not getting the full hormones that we're supposed to have for men, for men or women. And it's, it really is a situation, but it has a lot to do with the toxicity. And so that's one of the changes that people can really make is get rid of the toxins. And then there's, supplements you can take to help the liver to get rid of the excess estrogen. Excess estrogen also causes the prostate to grow. So
okay, say that again.
Yeah, the prostate can get bigger because of excess estrogen. Estrogen's a growth hormone, which is why women have more fat on their body. And then when men do go through some of those hormonal changes and they have more estrogen than they had before, less testosterone, they get man boobs and they get, pillowy and belly fat. So there's, it really has a lot to do with being not being fat. I mean, I hate to say it. Go ahead, Jimmy.
And what sort of proportion do you think is attributed to lifestyle habits, movement, activity versus what you're actually putting into your body?
In terms of food, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, food is always number one. The food is because food really determines what kind of cells that you make. We're making new cells, trillions of cells all the time, or I should say billions at a time. And so we have to have the building blocks to make healthy new cells. But then the hormones rule the world. So the hormones drive so much, and the gut biome makes hormones, the fat cells make hormones. There's a whole lot more going on in terms of hormones than, we even realized 10 years ago. So and of course we know how big hormones are because we see what happens when people go through puberty, big changes. And big changes the other way. Some of us have been through that change, and we can testify that there's a lot of changes that occur at the other end as well. And but for men, the thing is that they can then get depressed. And, they're subject to stress, but they don't necessarily talk about it, and they don't want to admit that they're stressed.
They don't.
And so they have to have ways to manage their stress. But, I think right now in the kind of world we're living in, everybody is so stressed. People have so much adrenal fatigue, and it's pretty easy to manage with some correct supplements. Lifestyle changes really make a big difference.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Well, I also saw on the list of what some of the symptoms could be for men is reduced hair growth or hair loss. Do you find that a lot as well? Could that be, how everybody's always like, oh, well, I'm losing my hair because on my mother's side of the family, blah, blah, blah. But could that actually be something related to the hormonal change of men in certain age?
Well, I think that there's more genetics there for men. Women, I think, lose their hair. I mean, it is theoretically possible.
Right.
During high stress situations, men or women can lose their hair. But for, we're seeing a lot of men who are going, the shaved head look and everything. There is definitely a genetic component there. And it's hard to deal with, but just thinning hair, there's red light therapy. Nutrition can make a huge difference there. And, in terms of hormones and how hormones are made and they go down a cascade, cortisol, which is the stress hormone, can take progesterone. And both men and women do have progesterone. So again, it goes back to hormones and how you deal with stress.
Well, how do you reduce that cortisone that you're talking about? Cortisol.
Right, cortisol.
Okay. How are we reducing that?
Well, I think that herbal medicine does a lot to reduce that.
Okay.
But of course, just probably getting off social media, getting some exercise, and getting outside and, getting in nature, not sitting on your butt all day. I mean, I think those are all, really important things. I think we've, again, we're so used now to this digital world. It's not a human world.
No, it's not.
Social isolation. Oh my gosh. Horrible for people.
That human contact really started to deteriorate, long before COVID, but COVID is really, set people on that journey of, oh, I liked being alone and I like working from home and I blah, blah, blah. And it just, I think it's made the times a lot harder to connect with people physically than, because there's Zoom, people Zoom all the time. There's Messenger, there's Facebook, there's all these things that people think that they're connecting with, but they're not connecting physically. So
you are so right. And people need human contact. It's, I mean, just in terms of touching and hugging and, looking in each other's eyes and, it really, the Irish longevity study, they found that community and social relationships was equal or more important than food and lifestyle. You know, it was
Wow.
really an eye
Wow.
opener.
I get
Wow.
I get that. I've been to Burning Man several times, and I'm a toucher hugger anyway, but I learned a certain type of, I don't know, hug, that comes with the community of burners. And when I know people, I give good hugs anyway, but when I know somebody, I really give them my real burner hug. And it was funny because the other day, last Saturday, I did a wedding and one of the servers was there, and I really don't think I'd ever hugged her before. And she walked up and she's like, "Christine," and she goes to give me a hug. And I really gave her like my real hug. And she just literally went
Oh no,
on
no,
me.
no, no, no,
And
no, no,
and
no.
she said to me, "Oh my God, that feels so good." And I said, "Girl, you're not hugged enough.
Right.
If my
Right.
people are not hugged enough, they are not touched enough. I mean in a good way, in a way
Yeah.
that permission wise."
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But I guess also post-COVID, you see a lot of people working by choice remotely. I mean, I work remotely. I have to actually make the effort and set the intention to go out and actually do so. Otherwise, I can easily just stay in my apartment all day. But also talking about the importance of community and contact. I mean, even what I do with fitness, community is one of the most underrated factors that people don't realize the value of. When you're actually with people
Right.
who like Christine said, going to a festival, going to hug people where everyone's there for the same purpose. So just surround yourself with people who are like-minded, well, enjoy the same stuff.
Right, exactly. And avoid the people that are, toxic. That's another thing that is
Couldn't
important.
agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. But I
That
think
is a very big part.
you brought up a really good point that people do, I think they got used to staying away from people and being alone. And that's not something we want people to get used to. We want them to. And also just, the energy, there's just, it's not just emotional, but it's also spiritual, psychological. There's an energy that happens when people are around each other. And it's if it's good energy, it would reduce stress, but it also would, lift mood and it's really probably intangible and hard to measure, but very important.
So what would you say are some of the other symptoms that men should keep an eye out for that would kind of give them an idea that they might have a little too much estrogen, not enough testosterone, that their hormones are changing and need to be evaluated?
Well, it's really interesting when you look at the studies and the literature on it. It seems that the metabolism doesn't really slow down for men or women until after 60, which I think would be a big surprise to a lot of people in their 50s because people talk about it all the time. But that's actually what the studies show. So again, I think it goes back to food. Why are people gaining weight? I know a lot of men, especially until recent years, they would be fit and they could do anything until they were 40, 45, and then they'd start packing on the belly. And, but the food has gotten worse, and again, people stayed home and ate a lot during COVID. And we have far more ultra processed food than we ever had before. And, how many people are obese these days? And I don't think it's so common. I don't think people have any idea. We're not talking cosmetic here. We're talking health, metabolism, and having a healthy health span, not just lifespan, because you want to stay healthy and fit and able to enjoy life. And it's, we're making it, oh, you don't want to body shame and you don't want to make people feel bad, which is true, but you also need to give them correct information so they can make good choices.
Right.
So I think that it's, I think people need to be educated more. And that's where I think the fitness for guys, fitness comes in, because a lot of guys do want to be fit, and then they're willing to listen to, some lifestyle and nutrition choices.
I've found that with guys especially, it's harder. Not harder. You have to let guys come to that point themselves.
Yeah, good point. And
I don't like fitting categories and stereotyping like all guys into one.
Right,
but,
of course.
Before you make a change to anything, right? That it has to be a point where the pain of staying the same is greater than actually the effort of changing your habits, actually looking at your food. It's but I don't know if the standard guy who's used to that lifestyle gets there in time. It's crazy.
I think divorce might force men sometimes to get, they get complacent maybe in a relationship or a breakup. It's the same with women too. When their lives are kind of rocked and they're kind of forced to look at themselves and think, oh, well, crap, I'm not in a relationship where somebody accepted me like this every day. And now, they might be in a position to where they, are thinking, oh, is someone going to find me attractive with this, beer belly or this, wide ass?
Do you think ego plays a part in that? I say that because females that I talk to and work with around this age where hormones do become a factor, they're almost scared that they're running out of time. They want support. They want to help. They know that they're doing this for not only themselves, their kids, their families. When it comes to actually asking for help, and sorry, Anne, you said men don't like to talk about stress. Men also don't like to ask for support, or maybe acknowledge they maybe didn't know everything that they were talking about before. Maybe.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I've sometimes had women come in and say, my husband is depressed. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help him. But then sometimes it's
doing that.
But sometimes even like a simple herbal supplement like ashwagandha can make a difference there. And so, there are non-pharmaceutical things that can really, really make a difference. And we all need some help at some time. So, but I do really think that not letting that belly get out of control is so important. I mean, half of the catastrophic health events for men happen before age 65. Wow. And so often I see men just not paying attention and, doing whatever they want. No, I'm good. And they find out the hard way, and it's heartbreaking. So that's men need to be protected from themselves.
Yes, they do. Quick question for you, Anne. Do you test men the same way that you would test a woman to see what's going on?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then is there you would then evaluate what they're lacking, what they have too much of, and then.
Sure. I like to do saliva for hormone testing, and you test the same things and you get the ratios. You can see what their cortisol is, and then you can see what their testosterone compared to their estrogen is. And then I do functional medicine, blood work. And like I had a young guy. You talk about a fit guy, about 34, loves to play sports, handsome, tall. He's virtually on the cusp of diabetes. And he's not even eating that badly.
Wow.
I mean, he is, he's a single guy, and but I mean, it was a wake up call. I was shocked at his blood work.
Wow.
But that's,
is it just his hormonal imbalance was bad, or what?
It said he's eating too much ultra processed food, too much sugar, too much, and he's slim. I mean, he does not have a belly. So I really was not expecting that. But, it was a real wake up call for him. And but he did have symptoms. He was feeling really crappy. And, I didn't know what I was going to find.
I wanted to ask, because you mentioned the belly fat, what are the other symptoms?
Yeah.
What would make someone in their 30s or 40s think?
He was exhausted. Like he would play, before where he could just play basketball and, no problem. And he said, half an hour or so, I start to feel exhausted. And he said, I play through it as best I can, but that shouldn't be happening at 34. And especially for somebody who's been, fit and athletic all their life, except for the lockdown. And so now we know, because his blood sugar crashes.
Wow.
So,
How did he find you?
We've known each other for a long time. He worked with one of my sons, and then we have some mutual friends that we, stay in touch.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Cause I was going to say, he was lucky to have known you then to be able to help him so quickly, because I don't know if your average, family doctor is going to be able to find the same kind of things.
Well, it depends on if they ran the blood work I ran. They would probably give him a little caution, but there's a couple blood markers that I look for, like fasting insulin, not just glucose overnight. When you fast and have blood tests and they check your glucose, or hemoglobin A1C, which is about a 3-month blood marker. He was a little high there, but his insulin was off the chart. Wow. And it, that should not be happening. So then he's in insulin resistance.
Yeah.
And that's what, that's really what type 2 diabetes is. So so that affects your brain, that affects, and then that's also a stress, part of the stress. But he would probably start putting on a belly pretty soon, the way he was eating, except that I don't think he's eating so many calories. He's just eating really the wrong kinds of food, not paying attention. He lives alone. He doesn't want to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you saying, here's a question though. I know a lot of men in their 40s and 50s who have that belly, who do sit for their work all the time, who are not working out, who do eat like garbage cans. Is it harder for them to get back on track? Is it easy enough for them with changes and the right kind of, suggestions from you of what to do to get them back on track?
It's not difficult if they'll do it. The hard part is doing it. It's not at all difficult, because of men's muscle mass. They lose weight really easily and really fast. And they respond way faster than women.
Fucking men.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
You can
Sorry,
lead,
Jamie.
you can lead a dog to water.
Yeah, exactly. So if they're willing to do it, like I do a weight, and they do well with a disciplined program, rather than just telling them what to eat. So I have a, weight loss program that I've done with men and women. It's about a 3-week to a month program, and it's a lot of food and a really, really nutritious shake. But it's what they don't eat,
Okay.
and the men lose like crazy. The women lose, 12 pounds, and the men just
like 25, 30.
well, not quite that much, but it's just they will lose fast, but they have to do the work. And also, the hard part is when you need to lose a lot of weight, sticking to the program and not looking at it as a diet. You have to change your lifestyle. You have to get your body used to not, why do people become addicted to heroin? You would think the body would say, hey, knock it off. This is killing me. But it doesn't do that. It says, oh, yeah, give me more of that stuff. And
that
same
feels
thing
great.
with ultra processed foods. And they are, I know I sound like a broken record, but
somebody has to.
Yeah.
Somebody has to. Would you say that, maybe suggesting to men that the earlier, like say their mid 30s, that they just start checking every year kind of thing for blood work, or, to kind of keep on top of that?
It's not a bad idea if they have any symptoms, and maybe to get a baseline, it would be a good idea. I mean, if somebody's really fit and doing well, it doesn't, they're not looking for help anyway. But I think the minute that belly starts to come on, it's a really big warning sign. And, and here's the interesting thing. When I was researching some of this for this podcast, the obese men actually have, even if they produce sperm, and you can do sperm tests and their sperm are fine, and they're going to get their wife pregnant, if they're obese, there can be some anomalies in the sperm that affect the children. And I think we've really looked at women and the quality of the egg and everything, because women are the ones who seemingly struggle with fertility, but there's a lot more on the male side than was realized before. And so, this is a conversation, because I do natural fertility to have with women, like your partner. And I do usually try to check the male partner also, ideally, because and especially, of course, they have sperm tests, but you could have, all the motility and all the good swimmers seemingly, and yet there's still, some problems. And that's epigenetics. It's not necessarily that they're bringing it forward on their bloodline, but what does obesity turn on in terms of genetic code that is bad stuff, not good stuff? So again, it goes back to eating right, and eating for your body and for nutrition and for your health, not just, for fun.
Right. I can't wait to get back to my editor and tell him he's got way too much estrogen.
Yeah, it was really funny reading through some of the studies, because so many of the researchers are men, so you can almost see this reluctance to even admit that there could be any changes. It was really kind of amusing, because with women, they're like, oh yeah, women and menopause and blah, blah, blah. But with the men, it was sort of like, well, kind of, maybe.
I'm sure it makes it harder to understand and to study and to figure out things when men don't want to admit that there are issues or problems or any kind of. I think people's health should be the forefront of what they're thinking about anyway.
Well, the thing is that I've sometimes had people tell me, well, I really don't care, I want to eat what I want. I said, okay. And, if I die younger, that's okay. And I said, I understand that. I get that part. But the thing is, it's not, and maybe you'll just keel over, but you might end up suffering. And
Yeah.
that's the real thing about metabolic issues and metabolic disease, which cancer, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, PCOS, for women, polycystic ovarian syndrome. These are all really metabolic blood sugar diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
people suffer. I mean, have you ever seen anybody go through Alzheimer's or dementia? Oh my gosh, you do not want to go there. So, but the great thing is it's so reversible if you start, really understanding it and then change your diet and lifestyle. It is really, and as long as it's not too far along, it's very reversible. That's the good news.
And what sort of time span can you say reversible? I'm assuming someone in their 50s or early mid 40s has a much better chance.
Oh yeah.
To what extent can you reverse that?
I think it just really depends on how far gone it is.
Sure.
No, how far along.
Okay.
But I've seen people with pretty serious situations reverse things. Even some genetic issues. If they're, these are people who've been really motivated, like I will do anything because I know I'm dying. But again, it's not, that's really just, it's the person themselves. It is so, somebody like me, all I can do is guide and advise. People, the body can heal. And the body can repair, and we just have to get the barriers out of the way. That's functional medicine,
Right?
Because if you get, most of us who get to be adults, we know that the body has the DNA to be to have an adult body, and so if you can just keep that going with decent nutrition. Make new cells and have all the proper organs working. So it's that's the good news.
Good.
Well, the human body is fascinating anyway. It's crazy how it can heal itself, and how if you just make the littlest changes before it's too late, because there are times that it can be too late,
Sure.
But that means Jamie, as healthy and perfect as you are.
Well, my heart was racing a bit when Anne was talking about a very active guy in his 30s suffering like this, but I would like to think my diet doesn't include too many processed foods. But I am delighted, Anne, that you've mentioned that, because I think there's too much we all know there's too much false information on social media, but those that preach all you have to care about is your number of calories, and it's crap.
Right. Well, calories from chocolate cake is going to be different calories from fruit or or a protein or whatever. So obviously people think, oh well, if I have to have a 1,200 or 1,500 or 1,700 calorie count a day, it doesn't matter what I eat as long as I have calories. But it does, obviously.
Get a bowl of vodka in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it does. Well, just eating sufficient protein can make a very big difference. And in terms of, putting on muscle and being not having, because two people, as you know, Jamie, you can have two people who weigh exactly the same and they're the same height, but their body composition can be completely different. I mean, I weigh the same as I did in college, but I'm telling you, it's not in the same places.
I don't wish I weighed the same as I did in college. I weighed 105 pounds until I was 25 years old, and then
fat loss versus weight loss, guys.
Yeah. So it's not even about how much you weigh, but but at my age, you need to keep working out. There's the old saying, strong women stay young.
Of course.
But with men, you know, they can stay strong and yet have a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
And
protein's an interesting one, because people have this misconception it's just for people to build muscle, it's just for this, that.
Right.
The impact it has on your metabolism, which is when you may not think you have muscle, but if you're trying to lose fat, you need to keep as much muscle on your body as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And protein, I mean, muscle uses more calories than fat does. So that improves your metabolism also. So, one thing though, that the studies did show that, which I think is interesting, is that it isn't, with women, we know there's going to be that pretty dramatic shift at menopause. But with men, it can vary quite a bit in terms of how much testosterone, how much their testosterone goes down. And that may be partly genetic. But then, men can still produce sperm that can impregnate a woman at 80. And so, yeah. Right.
Who wants that? No one. No one wants that. No one.
Exactly. So, there is a considerable difference in all of this. But, if you talk about going back to weight for a second, for men or women, the waist should be smaller than the hips.
Yes.
And that is such a good ratio that, again, how many people walk around looking like Winnie the Pooh? They're
right.
They just look like bears are about ready to hibernate. That's about how much shape they have to their body. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
I do have to say, as an older woman who's been through menopause, who's, raised kids, gotten divorced, dealing with life on my own, what did you call it? The cortisol is really, I'm sure, pretty crazy inside of me. But getting back on the fitness wagon is a difficult thing to do. I mean, I've done that recently, and I went from not working out at all to working out to 3 to 4 days a week. Jamie's over there rooting in my corner for me, and changed my diet, and I was 3 pounds more than what I said that I would tolerate. I have always said that if I ever was at this weight, that I would unalive myself, because I just couldn't even fathom being that weight. And then here I was 3 pounds over that. And I was like, okay, so I can't unalive myself. So I have to do something. And I had to change my diet, and I had to start working out. And I used to really struggle with it. I know just a handful of months ago, I was telling Jamie I'm having a hard time, where now I just pop out of bed and I'm up and gone, and I'm doing 3 days a week of physical therapy for a back injury. Spine injury, and I'm 3 days a week in the gym, and the 4th day I'm doing a home workout. It gets easier.
Yes, exactly.
It does get easier, and it gets easier a lot faster than people think. And I'd always been athletic, and I always worked out, and I always did this stuff, but it really took me a hot ass minute to get there. And now I'm so grateful that I am, because I'm 25 pounds less than what that 3 over was.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. 25 it was just one decision, Christine.
Well done.
I know it's a lot of work, but I'm here to say, if I can fucking do it, so can you.
That's right. And it's the persistence, most people can do it for a week or two, but when you need to do something, like 25 pounds, but how about the guys who need to lose 50, 70 pounds? It's the persistence, and
They can do it too.
but you're right. The body is very adaptable.
I think if you do something, what is it, Jamie? They say 30 days you can continue to do it, or something like that. I don't know what it was, but they always say if you can be consistent.
You mentioned the persistence, but it's consistent. Persistence and consistency. But it's the resilience as well, because you're all gonna have shit days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But so many of us become victim to just either thinking we're a failure or not believing, and then questioning. Actually, I just feel I just want to stay comfortable.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
I feel comfortable when I've not got all this fucking weight. So
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to everybody who comes and listens to us every week and comes and participates. We love you guys. Jamie, thank you for coming and being my co-host today. It was perfect because, men's health is important. Anne, you're amazing. I actually am about to have an appointment with Anne very soon to check my hormonal level to get me back on track as well. And I just want to say, we're going to have another incredible show next week, same time, same place. Please come back and join us again. If you want to hold on a second, Jamie and Anne, I'll talk to you once we get off the air. And until then, let's keep this shit real. Peace.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.